All right, so we got cut off, so I'm going to give everybody some time to get back in here. So if you're watching this video, this is part 2. There's a part 1 that you need to go and watch. This is part 2. We got cut off. So I'm going to give people time to get back in. So this is part 2. So if you're just now watching this video, there is a part 1. I got cut off, and so now I'm just coming back in. So this is part 2. So we left off. So I asked Les, I say, Les, if you can tell me anything about building a speaker business, what is the best thing that I can do? And he says, Will, this is what you need to do. He said, you need to learn your story. You need to learn your story, right? You need to learn your story. What is your story? Because that's going to be your competitive advantage. Your story is going to be your competitive advantage. With all of us being speakers out here, what makes you different, what makes you unique, what makes you stand out is your story. The information that we're sharing is the same. Principles are principles. You want to be a better leader, you need vision, you need integrity, you need character, you need courage, you need to be able to take a risk, you need to be able to like people, right? You want to get a better life, you got to take responsibility of your life. You got to take 100% responsibility of your life. You got to get a vision for your life. You got to get mentors. All of that information is the same. What's going to separate you is your personal story. Your personal story is what's going to separate you. So after meeting with Les Brown, I left that meeting and I began to hone in on what was Will's story? What was my personal story? What was the story that was going to separate me from everybody else? And this is why modeling is so important, guys, because it cuts off years. It cuts off light years of the process, right? Of the process. And when I talk about the process, I'm talking about the mistakes that you would have usually made. Like when I was starting off in speaking, I may have thought maybe it was my marketing, maybe it was branding that I needed to focus on. But because I talked with Les, who is at the top of the game, and he told me, he shared with me what cut through all the stuff. Will, when you get back home, this is what you need to focus on. And let me tell you the result. Let me tell you the result, right? Let me tell you the result of following the model, following those that have went before you, right? So now check this out, guys. So here's Les Brown on the cover of Speakers Magazine. This is Les Brown, right? So in the speaking industry, Les Brown is one of my role models. He's one of the people I look up to. He's one of my mentors. And because he gave me the blueprint, and because I followed the blueprint, look at this. Now I'm on the cover of the same magazine that my mentor was on because I followed the recipe. I followed the model because success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. Right? Think about that. Like if this is not the proof is in the pudding for you. Here's my mentor on the cover of Speakers Magazine. And here I am now on the cover of Speakers Magazine. Because success leaves clues. You know, if you ask any young kid, you go to any gym right now, you go to any football field, you go to any baseball field, and you see a young kid, you go to any skateboard ring, right? And you ask any kid, who is your favorite player? Who is your favorite player? They all are modeling themselves after success. You go ask any player. You go ask any young player, like, who's your favorite player? That means they probably have a poster of that player. They're modeling that player. They're watching their videos. They're tapping into their journey. So my question for you is, who's at the top of the game of what you're trying to do? Who's at the top of the game, right? And who are you modeling? And they don't have to, you know, they could just, it doesn't have to be at the top of the game. It could be a person that is doing what you want to do at a successful level. Let's say that. Because you may not be able, you know, I don't want you to say, oh, you know, I want to be like Oprah, and you can't reach out to Oprah, right? You can't touch Oprah, you know. But I want you to find somebody that you can model after. and say, I want you guys to look at this. You see the color of Les's tie? What color is Les's tie? What color is my tie? Right? Just so happens that red was my favorite color, so it worked out. I don't know if it would have worked out that way if Les was wearing a blue tie or wearing an orange tie or wearing a green tie, but it just so happened to work out that way that red was my favorite color. But look at it. I'm just modeling, guys. And I don't want anybody to get confused when I say modeling. I'm not saying copy. My story is not Les's story. I wasn't born in Liberty City. I was born in Compton, right? I wasn't born in an abandoned building. I was born, right? I was born in Morningside Hospital, right? But just like similar to Les, with some varying circumstances, when I was born in Morningside Hospital, I was born with a lung condition. So they immediately flew me in a helicopter. That's why I probably like aviation, right? That's why I probably like airplanes now, because my first trip was in a helicopter. That was my very first trip, was in a helicopter. They had to fly me to MLK. They flew me to MLK Hospital. Now I know, for those of you that live in California and Southern California, they call MLK Killer King. They used to call it Killer King. Well, Killer King saved my life. So I don't call it Killer King because it literally saved my life, because I was having complications breathing. Morningside Hospital, they didn't have, it was a small little, I don't even know what it was, but it was a small little facility that they didn't have all the things that could save my life. So they literally helicoptered me, medevated me to MLK, and MLK saved my life, right? Similar, right? But different. And so you want to model, but you're not modeling to copy. You're modeling to see, okay, how is Les using his story to inspire people? How is Les taking these leadership principles, taking these personal development principles, and intertwining them in his life story to inspire and motivate people? So that's what Dr. Will learned how to do. How can I take my story and along with these leadership principles and these personal development principles and intertwine them with my story, right? To motivate, inspire, right? And influence individuals. So I took the model. I said, okay, he's talking about leadership. He's talking about personal development, but now he's connecting stories. So Les taught me how to connect stories. He taught me, like, if you get up to speak and you just share principles, you will connect with people's head. But if you share stories, you will connect with people's heart. He taught me that. So you can get up, and this is why some speakers are engaging, because they're connecting to your heart, where other ones you may say, oh, that was some great information, but you're not really trying to follow them. You're not really trying to, go find out more about them. But when somebody shares their story, right, now you can relate to them. So when I was sharing with people all around the world that, hey, I was born in Compton, California. I started out at the bottom. Now, immediately people can relate to that. Oh, I can relate to starting out with unfavorable conditions. I can relate to not growing up on the right side or whatever. I can relate to not growing up with a silver spoon in my mouth. If I just got up and started talking about principles, people wouldn't be able to relate to me, right? I wouldn't seem real to them. But when you hone in on your story, and that's what Les taught me, how to hone in on my story. And this is what I teach my other speakers in our academy, how to hone in on your story. So my question for you, you may not be a speaker, you may be a teacher, you may be a police officer, you may be a banker, you may be a baker, you may be whatever. Like, who are you modeling? Who is at the next level of your success? Who is at the next level of your success that you can say, you know what? I can learn some things from them. I can model off of them. I can see what they're doing, and I can see how I can incorporate that in what I'm trying to do. Guys, the proof is in the pudding. Here's my mentor, and here's me. And I'm so now honored. Like, this is I'm on the same cover that my mentor was on. Right? Because I followed the recipe. I followed the formula. I followed the blueprint. And so here we are, right? Here we are on the same on the same magazine cover, guys. And so I'm telling you, the formula works. The formula works, right? He's known as one of the top speakers in the world. Now I'm known as one of the top speakers in the world because I followed the recipe, guys. So what formula are you following? What formula are you following? What recipe are you following? Right? What recipe are you following? That's my code. Whatever you're doing, your teacher, your principal, your administrator, whatever it is that you're doing. Like you ask one of those young kids, like, who are you modeling your game after? Who do you see your game is most like? Oh, my game is like Kobe. My game is like LeBron. My game is like Anthony Davis. My game is like, James Harden. My game is like KD. My game is like Chris Paul. You should be able to say that too, right? I'm modeling after, okay, I have similarities to this individual. Once again, it's not talking about copying, it's modeling, guys. That's what the most successful people do, is they model. You see this all the time in Hollywood, like in television. They don't try to reinvent the wheel. Housewives of Orange County. Oh, okay, that's popular. We see that people like that recipe. So we're going to have Housewives of Atlanta, Housewives of Orange County, Housewives of Memphis, Housewives of New Jersey, Housewives. We're going to have CSI California, CSI Florida, CSI Atlanta, CSI, because they see the formula. Oh, that's a formula. It works. This is what the people like. So we're going to keep generating this formula. This is what they like. We're not going to model anything else. Look at the car industry. You look at the, particular cars and the same, they all look alike. Why? Because they're saying we're not going to create. We see that people like this model. So whether we call it a Hyundai, a Honda, a Lexus, or a BMW, we see that they like this body type. So we're going to all make this same body type. Oh, they like this style SUV. We're all going to make this style SUV. Stop complicating your success, guys. Stop complicating your success. Stop complicating it. You're thinking that you got to come up with some new potion. No, you don't. There's nothing new under the sun. So that's my thought for you guys. That's my thought. If you're just watching this one, this is a part 2 video. There's a part 1. So go catch part 1 and then come back and also catch this part as well. So guys, I just wanted to share that with you because I was talking with some of my clients this morning and that's what we were talking about. I was just encouraging them to stay with the model that we're teaching them because you're going to have success. You're going to have success. It's like Betty Crocker. If you just follow the recipe, you'll get the picture on the front of the box. You'll get the picture on the front of the box if you just follow the recipe. So what formula, what recipe are you following, guys? All right, go out there and have an amazing Saturday evening, and I'll talk to you guys later.